Hello, everyone. This is the biweekly backdrop outreach meeting for Thursday, April 28th, at least in some parts of the world. As is our practice, we will go around the room, do a brief introduction. Each person selects the next person. I will start things off. Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California. And we'll pass the microphone to Greg.
Hi, my name is Greg. I'm joining from Melbourne. Haven't joined these meetings in 3-4 weeks now, so I'm just trying to catch up and start being more active with the community and the queue again. I'll pass it on to Joseph.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada. Martin.
Martin in United Kingdom, and I do bits of development and help with LinkedIn outreach. Go to Savashri.
Gotta turn on the mic. My name is Sarvashri, and I am in North Carolina, and I'm interested in getting new people up to speed with backdrop. Let's see who's left.
I think it's just me. So I'm Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And where the ice is finally off the pond. That's our big observation. Yeah, and I've just been really busy lately. We have a feature freeze on Drupal backdrop 1.22 coming up in just a couple of days, and we had some big features coming out that have been sucking up a lot of energy. So, anyways, but it's exciting. We got some cool things coming into the next release of backdrop. Excited actually. That's probably something we should talk about. Is in terms of outreach, is what we can, how we can use that or get the word out about our new features. So and with that, I'm leading into the fact that we have our agenda document set up, but we don't have anything too rigid on the agenda. We had 1 or 2 ideas right before the meeting. Let's go ahead and talk about those, and then maybe come back and talk a little bit about the new release and in terms of doing outreach with that. Martin, why don't you start with the point you were making about Backdrop Live, and then I have some ideas for you.
Yeah, it's July the 15th is the next Backdrop Live, but as often happens as we go through things, people come up with things that they think would be worthy of more discussion, and say, oh, we should do that at Backdrop Live, but because there's nowhere to put it down, then we're relying on people to remember when we open it up for actual session suggestions. So I'm just suggesting we have an informal place just to perhaps on the forum, perhaps on events, or a stream in Zulip. Doesn't matter. Just where we capture any session ideas.
Sure. Well, let me comment on that quick. Wait, am I? Yep. So a couple of it's a good point. And I agree. It would be nice to start jotting those ideas down. And I have a couple of ideas how we could do that. One of which is we could just get the site set up and have people start submitting topic directly to the site. We're 2.5 months roughly away from the next Backdrop Live. And I mean, usually we're not set up this early, but with each Backdrop Live, we're getting the system down a little bit better. And I think we could actually get the site spun up pretty quickly. It just requires somebody to take the effort. But assuming you're someone with an idea and the site isn't ready to go, what do you do with your idea? I think the obvious solutions for me would be, I mean, sharing them in Zulip doesn't hurt, but as you say, that they're going to be hard to find. So what I would do is either, as you suggested, open a forum post. You know, anybody can start that and just say, hey, I'd like to start collecting ideas for the next Backdrop Live and start putting them there. You don't need any official permission to do that.
No.
And the other place, and I think I prefer the forum for this particular topic, but another place somebody might do this is we have the issue queue for the community. So we have a Backdrop community issue queue where in the past things like this have went as well. However, I think that we have a little broader participation in the forum than we do in that issue queue. So I would probably
I'll create one in there. So.
Sure, I think that is a great idea. So, and but what we really should do is get the website set up and sort of work and configured for the next Backdrop Live. There's no reason people can't be registering already for the next Backdrop Live, and it probably could be about a half hour's of work to get it going. So. Although it might have to wait till after Sunday when feature freeze happens. Anybody else have anything to say about that issue or Backdrop Live in general?
Forum post sounds a good idea.
Yeah, forum.
Once the site is up, one of us can go and just copy paste the collected ideas to the actual event site and let everybody know that I've copy pasted. Start putting your ideas directly there now.
Sure. Okay. So there's that. So we do, hopefully right after feature freeze here, we can maybe at one of our upcoming outreach meetings, we can start talking about a little more actively preparing for the next Backdrop Live. The other thing that came up right before the meeting was upcoming Drupal camps where we might, or other events that we might be wanting to attend. Excuse me. We just missed a submission deadline for Stanford WebCamp, and unfortunately, it sounds as if nobody submitted any Backdrop sessions for that, which is unfortunate because there's a lot going on at Stanford with Backdrop, and it's a little bit of a bummer we missed that. I think we've just all been so busy lately. But we have some other events coming up. And Justin in particular has mentioned Drupal Camp Asheville because they're looking for trainings and he's, well, it sounds like he may have decided, yesterday he was asking me for feedback on whether or not we should try to do something at Asheville. And today he sounds like he's sort of decided he'd like to do it. So I don't know if there's too much to talk about other than that Justin is looking for any feedback or help he can get. I've suggested that I'd be really interested in going to Asheville. I'm just not sure I can yet. But if I do, I will certainly be willing to help. Does anybody have any thoughts on doing training at Asheville? How we can make, one of his concerns was the amount of effort that's going to go into it for will we really get any audience? And I think based on past experience, we don't know. We just do it and we see who shows up. And it's especially hard, I think, to predict right now because of the fact that events like this haven't been happening for 2 years, which could play in our for or against us. We just don't know until we get out there and try it.
What's the format of the training session? How long is it specifically?
Well, I think that from what Justin said in Zulip this morning, it sounds like they're looking for half-day trainings. So, yeah, so I guess that probably is something like 9 to noon or something, I'm guessing. So about 3 hours. I think Jen and Nate have done both half-day and full-day at other camps.
Hey everyone, I'm here, but there's like a PA system, so I'm going to be muted. But I'm adding thoughts into the chat if that's helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be interested and willing to do that. I already do trainings for content administrators and site builders for GovCMS. So yeah, even if there's no material ready, I could adapt to that. So.
Yeah, well, Jen is just saying that Greg would be great. However, this is in person. Asheville is going in person this year, so they're looking for live. And so Justin Justin yesterday was sort of looking for help.
Yeah, I'll hook
It's
up
the-
with
okay.
Justin. But what was he looking specifically for help with, like material?
So first of all, I think he was just looking for feedback on, whether or not it's worth it and would somebody would be willing to do it with him. I think he was a little nervous to do it on his own. We're talking about, Jen is asking questions in the chat. This is Drupal Camp Asheville. It is, it's right the week after the 4th of July. So it's like the
8th to 9th.
There we go. Thank you for doing saying that. It's in person. So yesterday, Justin seemed a little bit on the fence. Today, he posted in Zulip that he sounded like he'd sort of decided to do it. And I think he's just looking for support, moral support, maybe pointers on for example, I think he'd be happy to use some of the training that we've already prepared. So he might just need somebody to point him in that direction and walk through it with him. I have the feeling he'd love somebody to do it with him if somebody else is able to go to Asheville. And as I said, I've been considering it, but I just don't know. I can't commit yet that I can be there. So, but if I am able to. One of the things for us to talk about in outreach is if at some point we wanted to sort of try to designate a camp as a good one for those of us who do like to travel to camps to go to, which I think at some point we might want to do that. I don't know if we're ready for that yet or not. So I know I've been reluctant to go to in-person events so far, and I've kind of, as of a month or two ago, I started thinking, Asheville seems like the timing might be about right for getting out in the world again and going to see some of my Drupal camp friends. So I don't know where other people are on that in terms of going to events, and if there's anything, if anybody views Asheville as an opportunity to do something special. Okay.
I had a little look to see if there's anything in the UK, and the Drupal Camp London page says site under maintenance. We are planning Drupal Camp London 2023. Watch this space. So nothing happening there this year.
Jen, I noticed that we've added Stanford and Colorado to our calendar. And I know there are certain camps that we have been more friendly with, or, we participated in on a regular basis. And I assume that's, how are we deciding which camps we put on our calendar? I don't know that anything, like for Drupal Camp Colorado, has anybody scheduled something for backdrop yet? Okay. So Jen saying in chat that if anybody sort of reaches out and asks us for backdrop stuff, that we are adding them to our calendar. I guess certainly if we've scheduled something, it looks like she's planning to do a training there. Is Drupal Camp Colorado going to be in person this year, or is it online? I think the yes is that it's on, or it's in person, right? Okay. So it's from what Jen is saying in chat right now, it sounds like she is at least tentatively, depending on a pandemic and other concerns, how they play out, planning to do a training at Drupal Camp Colorado. So I think it sounds like we've got Justin potentially planning to do one at Asheville. And so that's sort of good news. And I guess I would encourage other people to start thinking about if there are events that you're prepared to attend. And if you're willing to do these kinds of things, we should try to get them on the schedule, get them on our calendar. And certainly Justin's concern was, will anybody show up? And I suppose part of it depends on if we can start getting the word out soon enough that this is available, that people can plan on that certainly is going to help in terms of attendance. Sarvashri, that's where you first learned about Backdrop, isn't it? The Drupal Camp.
Yeah, it is. It's a good venue. It's a really nice town to visit. Asheville's an up and coming place, really nice. And there is interest there in Backdrop. Jen rather, and Nate came, and that's where I learned about it. And there was some good attendance, and I think there'll be more attendance. There's a lot of Drupal 7 people that would be there. It's worth, I think it's worth doing.
Okay. Are you close to Asheville? Is that something that you would consider attending or not?
I'm about 2.5 hours away. Not real close. It just depends on what's going on.
Okay.
I haven't been going to it because I haven't been able to make use of the information there.
Sure. Okay, well, let's see. Like I say, it's still on my agenda as a possibility. Jen's just saying in Slack that usually most camps, when they plan trainings like this, will have a minimum number of people. And if people, if they don't get enough people, they'll just cancel it. So, well, that might be something we talk, that would be the kind of information to make sure we convey to Justin so that he knows that and is prepared for that. And then we can try to promote it. I don't know if they charge, some camps charge for their training. I'm not sure what Asheville does. So we'll have to also check that out.
To present or to attend?
No, for training, to participate in trainings. So
I don't remember any cost for anything.
Okay. It varies from camp to camp. So some camps pay for, or you pay. Well, there are some camps that are free for everything, like Bad Camp, or at least they have been in the past. They may have changed. Some camps you pay, either the camp is free or you pay a set fee, and then that sometimes includes trainings, but sometimes trainings cost extra on top of whatever you're paying for camp. So there's a variety of different models, and I'm sure everybody's going to be trying new things now, so we should really check. Well, let's get. Keep talking about events that we can attend. Also, what we can do to better promote them. If people have ideas, let us know. And then let's keep talking about this and see if we can drum up some participation at that training.
I'm looking at their webpage. They still have a call for speaker submissions there.
Well, that's true. In addition to doing a training, we should probably, if we're going to be there, we should submit an actual session proposal. So, okay. Does anybody have any other comments or questions about camps in general? Any other events that people are aware of that we should have on our, besides? I think I just saw an email, I think today, from another camp, although it might have been Colorado, which we already have on our. Jen, I'm watching Zulip. Do you know of any other events coming up in the next few months? Okay. Okay. She said no. Those are the three that she has on her list right now. Okay. So, yep, Stanford, Colorado, and Asheville. Getting in actual topic session submissions for both. We've missed Stanford, but we should try to continue to get them in for Colorado and Asheville. On a semi-related note, Drupalcon was happening this week, and I had hoped to maybe do some blog posting or tweeting this week that I never really got around to. There has been, and Jen's been involved in them, there have been some very interesting discussions on Twitter that aren't directly tied to DrupalCon, although I can't help but believe that the fact that DrupalCon was happening fueled them. So yeah, including some prominent people in the Drupal community expressing some of their reservations about the direction that the Drupal project has went, and Backdrop has figured in those conversations. I have posted links to them in Zulip, I think under outreach. So if you're interested, I recommend you take a look and join in and participate if you like. Or it's not too late to sort of post some stuff into social media with the hashtag DrupalCon, because it's technically still happening, and especially if your comments can sort of leverage that event happening right now. So anything else around events? Okay. Well, I suppose the next thing that came up earlier that we could talk about is we've mentioned a few times that we have a feature freeze happening. And for anybody who's new or is unfamiliar with our process, Backdrop has a minor release with new features every 4 months. And so basically January 15th, May 15th, and September 15th, we have releases. 2 weeks, 15 days before that release, we have a feature freeze, which is the last point to get any new features into the upcoming release. We can still get bug fixes and other minor changes in between the feature freeze and the release. But anything that's significantly new really has to be in 15 days in advance, so we have time to test and prepare it. We've gotten a couple of great new features in. We've got a couple of days to get a few more in. The feature freeze is the end of day on Sunday, which is May 1st. And so I guess in our next meeting, the dev meeting, we'll be talking a lot about what other new features we can get in. One of the big features that we're getting into this one is a new content type, which is having a big impact on the front page of default Backdrop sites. And it could be an opportunity for us to do some outreach about sort of Backdrop and how it's maturing. And that's as far as I've thought this through, is that I think every release is an opportunity to do outreach. And we don't normally, we try to do a newsletter around each new release. We don't always get it out, but that's the main thing that we do. In a blog post, we have on a couple of occasions gotten videos out, but it doesn't hurt to take a little bit of time to talk about this. And I'll just quickly update, as we transitioned away from Drupalcon to this, Jen added a few more comments to chat if people haven't seen them, just about, I think that one of the reasons that the topic, Jen was saying one of the reasons the topic came up in Twitter was that somebody was in a session where at DrupalCon where they asked how many people in the audience were still using Drupal 7, and about 80% of the people raised their hands. So anyways, but moving back to our next release, any thoughts on?
Could I just clarify? I'm not quite sure what state do changes have to be in. I noticed the thing on the website says about committed.
Right.
So is that it just has there has to be a commit in a pull request, or is it further and the pull request has to be merged or ready to be merged by the core committers?
Greg, do you want to take that?
Sorry, I phased out. Ask the question again. Sorry.
I guess what stage does something have to be in by that Sunday deadline? Does it have to be in a pull request, or does it have to be committed by a core committer?
It has to be committed by then.
Yeah.
By a core committer.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So what usually happens with regards to slide extensions is we set the date, but if that date falls, for example, on a Friday, and then it's a weekend or a long weekend, then we might extend it by a couple of days to give people the weekend to just work on things and give. Oh yes, Jen is right.
Yeah.
If we get close enough, we might make an exception. If we get really close.
Well,
but not really.
I don't know that I don't ever recall an exception. I think what Jen is getting at is that if we get really close, we can merge the main feature and break out some follow-up issues. Right. So there might be some details that are being debated in the issue queue. And sometimes what we do is we say, okay, well, we're 90% there. That part is solid. We can merge that part and we'll break apart this other part. And that'll be a follow-up issue, either for a future release, or sometimes the follow-up issue can be got in after feature freeze if it's small enough.
Exactly. Because we have 2 weeks between the feature freeze and the actual release, so that gives us time to do the follow-ups most of the time. Yeah.
So for example, the big issue that some of us have been working on is the this new content type with the cards. Okay, so we've been, that was very close to being ready at the last feature freeze, but it was determined at the last minute. We just had too many unresolved questions. So we pushed it off till this release, or we hoped to actually get it in very early in the release cycle. But every time we got close to merging it, new questions came up. And so we've ended up kind of working on it for the last couple of months. And even as recently as a few days ago or late last week, there were still a number of minor issues getting raised. And we finally just decided, you know what, these minor issues that are being raised can all be dealt with later. So we're going to go ahead and merge the core functionality, and it works. And one of the reasons we want to get it in, even before feature freeze, is because then we have a couple of weeks to uncover any bugs and fix them. And once something's merged in and feature freeze has happened, if we find bugs, we can obviously fix those before the release. But also if there's things like, an example, one of the things we were talking about in this one was an icon. Somebody had some suggestions that the icon should be slightly different than the way it is. And that would be the kind of thing that once it's merged in, we could create a task to replace the icon. That doesn't change anything fundamentally about the way the PR works. And that could get in up through the release date. So we can refine things around the edge, but the feature has to work before we can merge it, right? We can't sort of merge an almost working feature with the idea, well, we'll get it working in the next 2 weeks.
No, that's fine. I just kind of wondered where it had to be. That's really helpful.
Well, it's a good question, and other people, every release, somebody usually has to ask that, because we've always got new people to this process that aren't familiar. So, anyways, and then Jen is also pointing out that usually after the release, there's a bug fix release within about 2 weeks, which is another opportunity to catch any bugs that we've missed by the feature freeze. So. Or by the actual release. So, anyways, any other questions about the process? Which is, do we do a good job of conveying this to the public? Should we be, in terms of the outreach meeting, should we be doing more? I have been trying to tweet a little bit about, feature freezes coming up. Jen's pointing out we should review the docs and make sure we have good documentation on all of this, so that people have questions can go there. But anyways,
this is about outreach, and I've been away for a few weeks now. You mentioned good features getting in. Can you just bullet point the most important ones that we would like to get into a newsletter or something like that?
Sure. Well, it
doesn't have to be a comprehensive list. What comes to mind is a major thing.
This is a good idea for us to start talking about this. And what I think I'm going to do is just do this live here in terms of go to the issue queue. And the big one, because then we can also show you some screenshots and stuff. So this is a good reminder. Part of the reason I'm doing this live, Greg, is so you can remind me, how do you usually find them? Actually, the best way would be to go to the milestone.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be? So if we go to the 1.22 milestone, we can see the closed issues, right?
Right, yes.
So the closed, these are issues. Go ahead.
From there, it's already, plenty of features. So you can filter by feature requests, but some of them are tasks, but they're kind of,
right.
UX improvements, so that might be eligible for be added to the newsletter if it's big enough.
Well, let's do this really quick, which for people who aren't familiar with this. So what we've done is anything that's going to go into any release gets first tagged with a milestone, and we have 2 milestones we're working on. One right now. One is a bug fix milestone, which is 1.21.5, and then 1.22 is new features. So all of the bug fixes that are going to go, these are all of the bug fixes that are going to go in the next release. So there's quite a few of those. We went to the milestone to the 1.22 release because we want to focus on the bigger features. Although sometimes the bug fixes are pretty interesting too. So, but if we look at and the things that are here and not in the bug fix release are mostly new features, or Greg mentioned tasks. Although tasks really sometimes go into the bug fix. So, so the kinds of things we have here, the new hidden path content type, and let's see if we can really, for those of you who haven't seen it, if I scroll down to the bottom, do we have a screenshot? Oh, darn it.
290, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, and you have to like show more about 8 times in order to get to the end. So the better way to do this was, I know, well, you know what? Actually, this is worth doing.
There's a PR and
I actually did a blog post with all of the themes using, so the new, this has all of the Contrib themes using the new feature. So just so to people be aware, but basically what this new feature does is it adds a new content type called cards, and it puts some demo content displaying how these cards can be used on the front page of the site. So it's really kind of 2 features in one, because it's the whole demo content stuff plus the new content type. And this blog post, I posted it in Zulip. I can post it in the, if anybody wants to see one, just see all of this is all of the Contrib themes that are currently active.
Yeah, it looks pretty decent in all of them. That's nice.
And most of them, there are little things like, and I also, just for people's record, I posted this image in the issue queue for every one of these issues, for every one of these themes, so that the maintainer of each of these themes would be aware of how this is impacting the front page of their site. There's a few of them with little things like it's shifted a little bit to the right more than it should be, or some fairly minor stuff. I didn't see any of them that I think it really fundamentally breaks, in a big way. Some of them, the color scheme doesn't. In this one, I think the color scheme doesn't match very well, but I don't know.
Some accessibility issues, but yeah.
Anyways, so things like that. A lot of them have this outline around the cards, which I don't know if they would have intentionally done if they were aware of that, but now they can decide if they want to do that. I think with Opera, I've already addressed that issue. I think I had the lines and I got rid of them. So anyways, so that is what that issue is. If we go back to the milestone, another one of my favorites is, I'm really excited about, is this quick link for editing the layout and the theme. And, well, okay, we don't need to demonstrate all of these right now. Another big one that just recently is the ability to disable blocks on layouts instead of removing them. We have, where is it? Did the new Robert?
That one's a really good one that you're hovering over right now.
Which one?
Enabling backdrop only required modules.
Yes. Although this is, it may not be, it is really, really good, but it's only affecting people that are doing upgrades, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say something about it quick?
Oh, just that what it does, because of changes from Drupal to backdrop, sometimes the backdrop version of a Contrib module requires a module that didn't exist in Drupal. And the classic example is what's mentioned there, Entity Plus. And so when upgrading, you're kind of in a catch-22 to keep the backdrop module enabled. All of its requirements need to be enabled, but if the requirement didn't exist before the upgrade, it's not enabled at the time that the upgrade starts. And what this does, and this is beautiful work by RG Piano, is during the upgrade process, it goes and looks for all the modules that are needed by modules that are persisting through the upgrade, but that didn't exist, and it enables them at the time of upgrade. So
Also downloads them if they don't exist.
no, doesn't download. You still have to follow the requirements and put
Right.
of finding them and putting them in, but it will enable them. And the alternative was, even if you had those modules in your code base, they ended up disabled and everything downstream was disabled. And for things like UberCart that has multiple levels of nested requirements, and you find 20 modules got disabled that you were expecting. So it doesn't affect a lot of sites, but for the ones it does, it's a really big deal.
So the earlier issue about direct, here's a working PR sandbox. And this is right now, you can easily just go to this page and click on and go directly to the layout that you're working on. This is something I've wanted for years, and really excited to see that in. The thing I was going to ask you about, Robert, is the new, this wasn't in the last release, was it?
This is new for this one.
Right. I didn't see it on it must be on the bug fix release, because I didn't see it in but it's showing up in sandboxes now. So we basically redesigned, Robert did a lot of work on this, redesigned. This one, I think, went into the last release, which was the extra information about how layouts work. And then we sort of redid this layout to better help people understand the difference between layout pages and layout overrides.
And a lot of this is actually Jen's. So
okay, so Jen and Robert both had a lot to do with that. Thank you both for working on that. So, and this is a good example of something that is a pretty major difference that will show up in the new release, but it wasn't showing up in that list of features because we merged that into this upcoming bug fix release. But anyways, so that's all of that is to sort of help people understand what's coming into the next release. The question then is there something more we can be doing? Is there a promotional opportunity around this other than the newsletter and sort of blog posts that we already do?
I think the outreach is where we're sort of talking to the wider world is definitely sort of when we've actually released. I don't think feature freeze is really an outreach. It's more an internal thing.
Yeah, but the release is only 2 weeks later, so it's coming up.
Yeah, but then we might end up saying something, promoting something that we can't get over the line and we have to drop. So. No,
you're right. I'm not really talking about promoting the feature freeze. I'm talking about promoting the release.
Instead of doing the huge the newsletter or the blog post that goes with it, which lists all these features, could we consider, because that draws attention during a specific time, and I understand that, right, when we have a full release that people can actually download and install, would we consider, soon as these features get in, to start, I don't know, tweeting or even on LinkedIn, just as each feature gets in, draw attention? I know that we used to do it in the past. We used to solicit help to get these features in, but once they do get in, start bragging about them.
Are you saying start bragging about them as soon as they're merged, before the release?
Yeah, but then the only way for people to test would be to get the dev version, right?
Right.
Yeah. And the sandboxes that we have, the demo sandboxes always have the latest, not the latest dev, but the latest stable release. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've tweeted already about the new content type in my personal Twitter account, just because I'm excited, saying watch for this.
And
But it's hard to promote. It's hard to promote the features before people can actually use them, I think.
Or
Yeah.
get people excited about the new release, actually, sort of like what's coming up, because usually what we do with features, and I mean that there's features that get merged early during the release, but usually what happens is we have this flurry of activity and it happens during the last month or maybe less than that. So yeah. Anyway, unless we have an easy way for people to test some boxes of the demo, like pre-releases, then yeah, discard my idea, because then they would have to set up something on the local or yeah.
Mm.
And the bad thing is that once we merge something in the PR sandbox, that gets destroyed as well. So
Right.
yeah.
Although the good news is the feature starts to show up in new PR sandboxes
Exactly.
that get created. So any
But that's sort of
issues
like
that
that's sort of like internal knowledge for those people that
yeah, that's not something we can promote because it's too arcane to navigate.
I think that I suggested this like many years ago, that we should have in the demo page like a smaller button that says help us test the upcoming release, which would I'll have a talk with Peter to see if because that would mean a separate tugboat configuration file that pulls dev instead of stable release. I'll see if we can.
I think for the last release, I set up a Simplo instance that had the new release, the preview release in it, so that in theory, somebody could set up a Simplo site with the new release. Nobody did do that, which I didn't. I wasn't surprised, but I could also do that again, but it would be better if it were something in the
official,
a tugboat and something official.
Yeah, because we do get a pre-release. Like once we do the feature freeze, we do get a pre-release out, and it would be a good way to still have the stable release as the mainstream, what people download or test, but then also say, hey, if you want to have a pick at what's coming up in a couple of weeks, here's the link.
Okay. For anybody who's not 100% clear, a pre-release is just a version right after feature freeze that is released that has all of the new features in it that people can download and try as kind of a beta version, right, or alpha version even, where you're not supposed to use this on a live site, but for those of you who are able to, you can download it, install it, and kind of test out the new features and help us make sure they work. Occasionally, we do find bugs after release, and that's partly because we just don't have enough people testing our pre-release versions.
Yeah.
So that's something anybody could do if they want to.
Yeah, so it could help us both ways, both as an outreach and as a testing thing. So this is worth pursuing, getting a pre-release demo option on the page. But yeah, that's a bigger task, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're almost out of time. Anything final comments or questions, outreach related? Well, think about the new features. If there's anything there that people are really excited about that they think we could get other people excited about, please let us know. We'll have one more outreach meeting before the actual release. So, and I do think we should do some outreach around the pre-release to get people to help us test it. So, okay. Well, why don't we wrap this meeting up so I can go fill my coffee before the next meeting starts?
Right.